Welcome back, and joining me with more insight on the day's trade is Shaun Dendere from Trive Investments. Thank you so much for your time, Shaun. It has been a crazy time. I don't even know I have so much to say, but I also don't know what to say anymore. So let's talk about the Trump tariff pause that did fuel the market rally today. JSE up more than 4% and the resources more than 8%. That is huge. What does it mean, and what is the narrative now in the markets?
All right, firstly, thank you for having me. I think we really needed this reprieve. As you said, it's been a bit choppy in the markets. I really think that the reprieve comes from Trump realizing, in my opinion, that the U.S. economy in itself is under pressure. As you could see, that everyone is going into gold as a safe haven. No one is really going into the dollar. The dollar is losing strength. I was seeing that their bond market was also taking a bit of a beating on that side. So in order for them to stabilize that ship, I believe that he had to do something drastic, basically making a U-turn on all his tariff executive orders. And it's not a full U-turn, but something better for the world economy.
Yeah, and it's quite an interesting thing because there are a lot of opinions there as to why we are here, whether this was Trump's plan all along to get everybody to the negotiating table, or whether it was market pressure that actually forced his hand, or maybe it was manipulation, because he did actually say in his Truth social media platform that it is a great time to buy. I don't know if that is something that a president should say when the market is in a rut, but of course we will see as time goes by. But really the question here remains, Shaun, are we out of the woods yet, and is there damage that can't be reversed? Because, I mean, we are seeing actually the US markets quite down today.
So I don't necessarily think we're out the woods. In the long term, the damage can always be reversed. I think the markets always, turn back. It's all about a time frame thing. The biggest issue or concern for me would be, the tariffs actually imposed on China,
Yeah.
right? So as the two biggest economies in the world are still at war, so that may lead to inflationary pressures for China, the United States, and as we all know how China affects the rest of the world, that might lead to also inflationary pressure for the rest of the world nonetheless, despite us having, lower tariffs for the sake of the conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, quite a concern for us as well, considering that they are also a big trading partner for us. And it's quite interesting because in these last few days, we have had a few financial institutions actually downgrading their growth forecast for China now. Of course, their target being 5%, but those institutions now downgrading to around 4.2%. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that filters through to the economy. Another region that the US or Trump has spoken about quite extensively as well, his firing line, is the European Union. And quite interestingly, yesterday, as the US imposed those reciprocal tariffs, the European Union actually instituted their own countermeasures. And this is, of course, in retaliation to the steel and aluminium tariffs imposed by the US. Could we see the EU pulling back here and going back to the negotiating table with the US?
Now, I strongly believe that the EU has been very open to negotiation. And the reprieve on tariff came, excuse me, came after the European Union had made their decision.
Yes.
As we know, Donald Trump has been quite unexpected every single day, so we don't even know what will happen tonight.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna hold, in my opinion, and open the door for them to have a discussion with the United States and see how we forge a way forward. Because at the end of the day, we also have to understand that this is only for 90 days. So we do not know what happens after the 90 days.
And actually something that was overshadowed by all the tariff chaos is the Fed minutes that came out last night. And I mean, this is in a time where there were rumors that I guess even hopes that the Fed could maybe intervene as we were experiencing all that market pressure and actually save the markets. What approach is the Fed taking according to those minutes?
I think the Fed is being very cautious and taking a wait and see approach in terms of what is the actual president going to do. So For us looking into the future, I mean, US CPI also came in today lower than expected. We shouldn't necessarily see interest rates going down up until there is a bit more certainty, up until we see what happens on, let's call it day 90, regarding the tariffs. So it's really a wait and see approach, like the rest of the world, actually.
Yeah, you see, there's so much going on the tariffs that I didn't even see that we had US CPI coming out today. So thank you for that, Shaun. Let's bring it back home and take a look at some of the company news that came out from the JSE. Life Healthcare coming out with an interim trading statement today and giving us their expectations for headline earnings per share, seeming that there has been an improvement, for example, in paid patient days and all those other metrics. Their continuing operation is only Southern Africa at this point, right?
Correct. So I think, when we look at South Africa going locally, we've seen some improvement, especially with, our local shares. We've seen companies actually growing
Yeah.
more than we actually expected. So it's a sign whereby, yes, the economy is in, let's call it a positive,
Yeah.
there's positive green shoots. However, there are other elements such as political issues that we need to address, and also the United States that can potentially bash us down,
Yeah.
and the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So businesses really have to navigate that uncertain environment. Well, let's get into mining, where, of course, we saw the Resources 10 complex carrying most of the gains that we have seen on the JSE today, including Anglo American. The miner, I think it was in morning trade. I haven't actually checked where it ended this morning. It ended in the session, but this morning it was up by 7%. And I don't know if it was just the general market optimism or what they announced on Sense today on that sale of their steel-making coal mines in Australia to Peabody, seeming that there was something that happened that maybe could threaten the sale of that. Do you think that that is a significant threat at this point or not?
I don't think it's a significant threat, especially Anglo having done their analysis, and they said, look, this was minor. There were no issues underground. Everything is operating as normal. But if we're looking at Anglo, there have been a lot of companies trying to hardball them. For them to start this whole restructuring process was because BHP wanted to buy over Anglo. So I think all these companies are just trying to be opportunistic in terms of the business that they're doing with Anglo, but Anglo doesn't seem to be phased.
Yeah.
And if we're looking even from a share price perspective, PGM stocks and mining stocks have been doing really well, especially locally, because I mean, a lot of those stocks are undervalued, and due to this uncertainty, everyone is diving into your safe haven assets such as gold and the like.
Well, yeah, something, of course, that has experienced pressure for quite a while, but seeming that optimism is back is the PGM sector. Let's take a look at Teresa. That's a PGM and a chrome miner releasing its second quarter production report. An increase in production for both commodities, and actually, quite interestingly, the PGM prices actually rose in the period. Anything that you took out of that report?
Not necessarily. I think once again, it's a sign of the times going back to PGM stocks. I mean, if we went back, I think about 2 weeks ago before the markets tanked, let's call it tanked. I mean, the JSE was basically on all-time highs, and those all-time highs have really been driven by your miners and your PGM stocks. So in an environment that's super volatile and uncertain, if you got your house in order, you're probably going to see some good upside on that.
All right. Which other counter has its house in order? What is your stock pick for today?
I'm going to sound like a broken record. I'm still going to choose the same stock. I guess I chose it last time we had a discussion, and it's definitely going to be an ETF and any gold ETF, just until we see some certainty in the long term.
I don't blame you there, Shaun. A very good choice. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights today. That was Shaun Dendere from Trive Investments.